Hello everyone, welcome to another interesting video. So in today's video we are going to be discussing why there are holes, a little hole in the bottom side of the aircraft's window. So we'll be discussing the why the hole is present, its functions, and how it can save the like the cabin in the event of a depressurization, even though when one window is gone. So yeah, let's start the video. So before we get deeper into that, I want to tell you this is my 150th video. I can't believe I've done this video since before I hit the 2 years, and hopefully before I hit 2 I have to be at the 200 video mark. So this is my aim. So that's why I'm posting videos every day. So yesterday I couldn't post due to other reasons. So now that's why I'm going to be posting 2 videos today. Now let's go deeper into that. So you may be wondering why have I even taken out my phone. Well, when I was doing my first flight vlog on Air India Express flight from Bengaluru to Visakhapatnam, I got one of my first photographs 39,000 feet in the air. It's adjusting, taking long time. Okay, you can see here, and the small hole is this small one dot you can see. So that is the hole we're discussing about. I'm gonna bring the phone a little bit closer, and that is the photo of the left wing, 39,000 feet in there. Even though it looks like the right wing, it's the left wing. So it's lateral inversion. So now that small hole is the topic we're gonna be discussing. So phone out. Okay, before we learn why there are holes in aircraft window, there is a specific aviation term for it. So now let's learn that term. So the special aviation term for that small hole in a window is called bleed hole. So let's do the splitting method. Split it. Bleed, which means air in aviation language, and hole means a small opening. So when you combine them, you get the word bleed hole. Bleed hole is the hole in the aircraft's window which has 4 specific functions, which I'll explain to you in a minute. That is the hole which is about this big, and it is the crucial part in an aircraft window system. I'm going to talk about that now. Now this comes to the question why there is a bleed hole in the aircraft's window. It's going to be for every window, no matter on if you sit on the left side or the right side of the plane. If you are in the first row or the last row, it's going to be there for every window. It doesn't matter if you're flying first class or economy, it's gonna be there for everything. Only difference is that in first class and others the windows will be larger, so the bleed hole will be about this much. Okay, so now the bleed hole thing, there are 4 functions as I've told you. First function, to regulate air pressure inside and outside the cabin. Now if we need to regulate the pressure, we need to first understand why an aircraft is even pressurized in the first place. Well, if you don't know more about it, I would highly recommend to check my how the aircraft pressurization system works video. Now the aircraft is pressurized to keep passengers comfortable, as we have learnt in physics class that the higher we go, the air pressure becomes less, thicker and thicker. So to compensate, the cabin is pressurized. In other terms, you can call it, as you go up, the air will become thinner, and the air will get depressurized. In order to compensate, we need to pressurize the cabin or fill it with air in layman's terms. Okay, now we have understood why the aircraft is pressurized, but I'm sorry, I'm getting the word I'm not pronouncing the word properly because I have a gum in my mouth. So I'm going to spit it and come back. Okay, spit the gum out. And why does the aircraft needs to be pressurized is done. But now how will that hole affect the pressurization system? Well, since the aircraft is pressurized to the altitude at which they are going to be cruising, and it will most of the times it will be in auto pressurized, which means there will be a little outflow of valves on the bottom. I'm gonna do another video on that. Now, the hole. Well, to regulate the pressure outside and inside the cabin, that small hole is required. Now, outside the aircraft, the pressure is very low, and inside it's the high pressure, and we do not want to, have the breaking of windows, or like the breaking of the aircraft due to these pressure differences. That's why the hole is there. It regulates the pressure inside and outside the cabin. So you're sitting inside and you won't even notice that hole which is doing the work of its life. So to regulate air pressure inside and outside the cabin, that hole is required. Second one, to prevent fogging. This is also a case of pressurizing, because when you pressurize outside and inside, it's going to be a highly differential air pressure, and that if there is no way to slightly release that, that will cause fogging up in the windows, or as you can call it, blurring of the windows. So to prevent that, and it's called condensation of the windows, and if the aircraft flies through particles of moisture, it can get condensed. So to prevent that condensation, that small hole is required. It keeps the window free from condensation, or as I would like to call it, fogging. The third one is to save the aircraft in the event of an emergency. Okay, now how does this even happen, you may ask? Well, let's take an example of one such flight. British Airways flight 5390 was a passenger flight operated by a BAC 111 aircraft with rear mounted engines, and that had a window failure in which the captain side's window got sucked out of the aircraft, leading the making the captain to go outside, and his head impacted with the fuselage, and it was a real miracle that that captain lived to tell the tale. So in that case, the first officer descended quickly, and that is another reason. But now, if you want to know the reason why, it's a little bit more complicated than that. The reason for that is that there are three layers of aircraft windows. This might come as a shock to you, but yes, there are three layers of aircraft windows. The plane's windows are made from three layers of acrylic. It's a type of a very hard and strong material which is lightweight, but it's very strong. It's like, if you take an example of that, you can tell it's like the carbon fiber which is nowadays used in newer aircraft like the 787 and the 777X and the Airbus A350. So even though it is a lightweight material, it's a very strong material. So now this acrylic has not just one layer but three layers, and it's also has a specific aviation term for it which is called panes. So panes is the aviation term for window, and there are usually three layers of panes, which is the outer pane which is exposed to the outside of the aircraft, which will be like the outside view of the aircraft, and the middle pane which has the like the small hole in it, and it is the layer which actually like regulates the pressure, and there's the inner pane, the window which you actually can touch and feel it from inside the cabin. So to prevent the breaking of these panes, the small hole is present. Now, how can this hole save the emergency? Like, in case if the outer window breaks, there's gonna be a problem, because when the outer window breaks, that is the part of the aircraft which doesn't allow the depressurization to occur, and then there's the middle and the inner pane. So if that breaks, then that exposes the middle pane to the harsh layers of the cruising altitude, which can be high level of freezing, which can sometimes reach up to minus 40 degrees Celsius, and higher speeds and hurricane like winds up to 500 miles per hour. So that exposes the middle pane, and that window is there to prevent the depressurization even with a hole. That happens because the inner pane does not have a hole, and that inner and the middle pane can manage it, but the most work is done by the middle pane. The middle pane does most of the hard work, and even with a hole, that middle pane will not cause a sudden depressurization. It will cause a controlled depressurization in which the pilots can go down. And the fourth is an overall safety of the aircraft. If you combine all these points I've told you, that comes to the safety of the window and the pressurization system. So to prevent any of these things happening, the window hole is there. So next time when you board an aircraft and look out the window, just make sure to give a stare to that small hole which is working tirelessly for you and your aircraft's safety. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and comment. This was quite a bit of technical video. I hope you learned something about why there are holes in an aircraft window and some aviation terms. So don't forget to like, share, subscribe and comment, and have a nice day as always.